Imagine a bond built on trust, honor, and shared dreams, only to see it tested in ways that shake the very foundation of faith and friendship. Tonight, we confront a moment where promises falter, red lines are crossed, and the question lingers: when a trusted ally betrays, what does a nation do? This is not just a story of politics, it is a story of courage, sovereignty, and the unbreakable spirit that refuses to bow. Stay with me, because what unfolds here will challenge your beliefs, awaken your heart, and reveal the true power of standing tall against betrayal. For decades, the relationship between India and America has been painted as a partnership built on common ground: democracy, shared values, and mutual respect. From trade to technology, from defense collaborations to cultural exchanges, this bond was presented to the world as one of trust and equality. America positioned itself as a partner in India's rise, extending its hand with promises of cooperation and long-term commitment. India, in return, opened its doors, aligning its vision with the world's most powerful democracy, believing that this bond would strengthen both nations in an uncertain global order. But as history has shown, alliances are often tested not in moments of peace, but in moments of decision. The recent years have unveiled tensions that can no longer be ignored. Subtle disagreements in policy, unexpected sanctions, and shifting loyalties have begun to erode the foundation of trust. What was once seen as a reliable friendship now carries the weight of suspicion. Questions emerge: was this alliance built on genuine partnership, or was India always just a stepping stone in America's larger strategy? These tensions are not abstract. They touch the very core of sovereignty, pride, and the right to choose a nation's own path. India cannot ignore the signs that point to a changing tide. The historic alliance, once celebrated as unshakable, now stands at a crossroads, caught between promises of friendship and the reality of political maneuvering. Every relationship, whether between nations or individuals, carries invisible boundaries, lines that must never be crossed if respect and trust are to survive. For India, the recent actions of America have done just that. They have struck at the core of dignity and sovereignty. What once was presented as partnership has now begun to look like pressure, where decisions made in Washington ripple through New Delhi without regard for India's interests or pride. This is not just politics. It is a violation of the very understanding that held this alliance together. The so-called red line is more than a phrase. It represents the threshold of tolerance, the point where friendship gives way to suspicion. When America chooses to impose sanctions, dictate defense choices, or lean toward adversaries, it does not simply make policy, it sends a message. The message is clear: America believes it can decide for India, rather than with India. That belief is dangerous because it undermines the essence of sovereignty. For India, the red line lies in autonomy, its right to chart its own path, to choose its own allies, and to protect its own interests without interference. When America crosses that line, whether through strategic deals with rivals or economic pressure designed to bend India's will, the betrayal becomes undeniable. It is no longer about cooperation but about control, and that is something India can never afford to accept. Trust is fragile. It takes years, sometimes decades, to build, but only a moment to shatter. For India, the sense of betrayal at America's recent moves runs deeper than politics. It strikes at the very soul of a nation that believed it had found a partner in progress. For years, India welcomed American influence, opened its markets, and aligned itself with Washington on issues of global concern. The friendship was sold to the people as a symbol of mutual respect, as if the two democracies were walking side by side toward a brighter future. But when America makes choices that disregard India's sovereignty, when it engages with adversaries or places conditions on cooperation, the mask begins to slip. The question that echoes through political halls and ordinary homes alike is simply, was this ever about partnership, or was India simply a pawn in a larger game? That question hurts more than any sanction or policy shift, because it challenges the sincerity of trust. Betrayal does not always come with dramatic gestures. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in the form of broken promises, delayed commitments, or deals signed with those who undermine India's security. Each act may seem small, but together they form a pattern too clear to ignore. And once the feeling of betrayal settles in, it reshapes the way a nation sees its ally. It is no longer about friendship, it becomes about survival dignity, and the search for truth in a world where words no longer match actions. For India, security is not an abstract concept. It is a daily reality shaped by the shadows of China, the hostility of Pakistan, and the instability of the wider region. In such a landscape, America's role as a strategic partner was supposed to provide strength balance and technological support. The defense agreements, intelligence sharing, and military exercises were meant to symbolize a shield built together. Yet, when America takes actions that weaken this understanding, the consequences echo far beyond the negotiating table. Every decision America makes, whether it is withholding advanced defense technology, placing sanctions on critical imports, or engaging militarily with India's rivals, directly impacts India's capacity to defend itself. Security is about timing, preparation, and trust. If a partner fails to deliver when it matters most, the cost is not measured in dollars, but in lives and sovereignty. India cannot afford hesitation or betrayal in matters of defense, because its borders are constantly tested, its skies watched, and its waters contested. What makes the situation more pressing is that America's moves affect not only India, but the entire region. A weaker India emboldens its adversaries. It shifts the balance of power toward those who threaten stability, giving rise to greater risks of conflict. When a friend crosses the line in defense matters, it is not just policy, it becomes a threat to survival. India's military pride is built on resilience, but resilience cannot replace the strategic trust that was promised. And when that trust is broken, India must reassess whether its security is truly in its own hands or still tied to the uncertain will of a partner who no longer honors the commitment. Economy is the lifeblood of a nation. For India, every stride toward progress has been linked with trade, technology, and global partnerships that fuel growth. America positioned itself as a gateway to opportunity, promising investment, innovation, and open markets. For years, India trusted that promise, allowing American companies to thrive in its markets while expecting fair access and respect in return. Yet, when America shifts policies, imposes sanctions, or builds barriers, the shockwaves hit millions of lives directly. Trade restrictions cut deeper than numbers on a chart. They strike at jobs, industries, and the confidence of investors. A single sanction on technology transfer or defense equipment can stall entire sectors, leaving India dependent on slower, less reliable alternatives. These economic pressures are not random. They are deliberate levers of control, designed to bend India's choices. And when a partner begins to use economics as a weapon rather than a tool of cooperation, trust fades into suspicion. Beyond sanctions, the ripple effects spread into global perception. If America treats India not as an equal partner, but as a subordinate to its agenda, it signals to the world that India's rise can be slowed at will. That perception can chill investment, limit innovation, and delay progress that millions of Indians have been working toward. The betrayal is not only in broken promises, but in the lost opportunities, the dreams of young entrepreneurs, the stability of workers, and the nation's ability to compete on equal footing. In the end, the economy becomes the battlefield where loyalty and betrayal are felt most sharply, because prosperity touches every home, and when that is threatened, the wound cuts deep. When betrayal looms, the question is not just about what has been done, but how a nation chooses to respond. For India, this moment demands clarity. Will it bend to external pressure, clinging to dependence on a partner that has shown it can turn cold when convenient? Or will it rise with pride, forging a path that places sovereignty above every promise of aid or alliance? The answer will define India's identity on the world stage for generations to come. Dependence is tempting because it offers comfort, American technology investments and defense systems have accelerated India's growth. Walking away from that support is not an easy choice. Yet, dependence comes at a cost paid in the erosion of autonomy. A nation that relies too heavily on another eventually loses its voice, forced to nod in agreement, even when its heart burns with resistance. For India, this is the trap it must avoid at all costs. On the other side stands pride, difficult, demanding, but necessary. Pride means investing in self-reliance, building alliances that are balanced, and refusing to bow to threats disguised as partnership. It means accepting short-term sacrifices for long-term strength. India's response will not be measured in words, but in actions, whether it diversifies its alliances, strengthens its domestic industries, and shows the world that its dignity is not for sale. Pride is not arrogance, it is survival. And for a nation with centuries of resilience etched into its history, choosing pride over dependence may be the only path left to walk with honor. What happens between India and America is not confined to two nations alone. It carries lessons for the entire world. When a powerful country crosses the red line with a trusted partner, it sends ripples through every capital, every alliance, every negotiation table. Other nations watch closely, weighing their own futures, asking themselves, if this can happen to India, a nation of strength, independence, and rising global influence, what does it mean for us? The betrayal of one becomes a warning for all. The message is clear. Partnerships with America come with conditions, and loyalty can shift overnight if interests change. Smaller nations take note, realizing that promises of cooperation may one day turn into tools of control. Even larger powers observe, recognizing that alliances must be approached with caution, because no handshake is immune from hidden agendas. Trust in the global order is shaken, not just for India, but for anyone who has ever believed in the idea of shared values as the foundation of diplomacy. But the message also holds a mirror to India's strength. How it responds will set an example for others who face similar pressures. If India bows, the world will learn that even the proudest nations can be bent. If India resists, it will inspire others to guard their sovereignty with the same determination. In this sense, India's struggle becomes universal. It is not just about trade, defense, or politics, but about the eternal fight for dignity in a world where power often speaks louder than promises. The larger message is being written right now, and the world is watching every move. India now stands at a defining moment. The promises of friendship have been tested, the red lines have been crossed, and the sting of betrayal is real. Yet, betrayal does not have to end the story. It can ignite the fire of resilience. India's response will echo beyond its borders, sending a message to the world that dignity cannot be bought and sovereignty cannot be compromised. The choice is clear: to rise with pride, to stand unshaken, and to shape its own destiny. Good luck to all who believe in truth. Thank you for listening, and stay strong.